Hello and welcome to this random ass video that I am creating just to get some annoyances off my chest. This is mainly just something I'm creating because of the more recent changes displayed in the TWAB. I know I'm a bit late on responding to it, given the internet, but I felt it's still worth doing anyway, and as per the title of the video, the fuck keeps happening to Solar Warlock? Now, don't get me wrong, disclaimer. I'm totally fine with the fact they're nerfing this. For the love of all that is holy, it needs to die. I cannot wait until this thing isn't glued to Solar Warlock's hip. But what bothers me is the fact that we're not getting, we as in the Warlocks, aren't getting anything in to like replace it. Because it's like, I'm not saying that, like, I'm sure, like, we are getting like a super and we're getting like another aspect, but like both of them both of them don't really fix the core issue that or at least I personally feel, and a lot of other people that I commiserate with feel when it comes to just the general disconnect with the entirety of Solar Warlock. And I felt like a lot of it stemmed from the fact that this existed, that this literal 30-second immunity field on a 2-second cooldown is the reason why Solar Warlock had to have all of this weirdness thrown around in all of its like capabilities. Like, we have like 1.5 aspects that exist along with, and then we have just like Touch of Flame, and then that is and so you have like, you're only ever just sitting on like one aspect, or like you're only ever sitting on like what feels like 1.5 aspects at any given time, because you're like, either you're throwing on this and you're like, cool, my snap is, or like my snap and my celestial fire is decent and I'm actually able to run this, or you drop this for this and now you're able to keep the mobility a little bit, but this is now completely worthless, so you can't fucking use this anymore. And your grenade is now functional, which before your grenade was worthless. And or you can do this and now you completely remove the solar identity from the Warlock, but you have what feels like an almost completed build, but you're now just sitting in the air, just like trying to float to get your melee back. And sure, you can do like short hops too, but it's like you're now trying to just be in the air, but you don't have the dodge capability, so now you can't, like in higher end content, you're just a sitting duck getting your ass beat. And it just creates this whole disconnect with the entire subclass where you just never really feel like anything you do is as optimal as it could be. And I bring this up just because it's like no other subclass, I feel like, on any class, like I run around with many other classes. Like I sit here with my Titan and my Hunter here, and if I go to my Titan and I look at my solar build and I go like, cool, I have Consecration, I have Roaring Flames. Sure, I am sad I don't have Soul Invictus, but I'm not sitting here going like, this build needs Soul Invictus to feel good, because this feels great just by itself. And then if you go to like Stasis, these two aspects look great. You can run Tectonic Harvest with Cryoclasm, and that synergizes with Shattering the Crystals. You can run it with Howl of the Storm, that makes more crystals for you to shatter for this. You can run this with Howl of the Storm just to have a little more ways of generating Diamond Lances. Like, everything just flows into itself, and you can pick and choose what you want, and it doesn't feel like you're ever locked into something in order to try and make something work. But then you go back to the Warlock, on Solar specifically, And you get all of this stupid text that's been here since the 3.0 update that's like, this thing doesn't function unless heat rises exists. Like, you're sitting here like, okay, cool. I am killing one of the most sustain capable class abilities in the game that lets you just kind of be able to sit in an area and like slap it down behind cover, and you're able to constantly bob and weave in and out, and you feel and you feel like you're actually able to like keep yourself alive doing that, and you're dropping it for a ×2 cure, and it's not even on a dodge cooldown, and it's twice the length of a dodge cooldown, and you get a ×2 cure. That's it. Now, yes, it has the other stipulation of, cool, if I have this aspect equipped and eat one of my most potent abilities in the game and put it on cooldown with no additional effect, now it does something. But it's like, why does that continue to need to be a thing even though this is now dying? Why is heat rises so... like, it's so baked into so many different things, like this being locked to a single dodge unless I have this active. Why isn't this baked into this then? Like, why am I sitting here going like, okay, cool, I have to get rid of both of my aspects to finally have a subclass? Like, why is this how this works, and why is it continue to be how it works even after this is nerfed? Like, before this was said to eventually be nerfed, I was like, okay, cool. I understand that we can't have the Warlocks neutral game be good in any sense of the word. Like, because if it is, then this is broken. We saw that with Starfire Protocol. If their neutral game is allowed to function with this broken sword in the ground, suddenly you're sitting here like, okay, cool, now they just dominate the game and win everything, and it's like, okay, cool, that makes sense. But now that everything around it has been nerfed so hard, like Starfire Protocol doesn't exist, it's worthless. Fucking just, like, sun bracers are now getting hit as well, which I, again, am okay with to a good degree. What they're doing with it makes sense. But, like, even that is also getting hit, and you're not helping it in any way. You're not helping. You're just leaving it like that. I don't understand. Like, why is this? Why are we leaving all these keywords locked to aspects while trying to make a new one? And it's like, cool, what the heck am I supposed to use with that aspect? Explain this to me. Am I supposed to put on, like, with the new aspect, am I just supposed to be like, okay, cool, this aspect will be in place of Icarus Dash, and and that's it? Is that just, and that's your fix? Cool. Like, you can only run these two now, and they're locked, and you can only run Touch of Flame and the new Solar Buddy, and they're locked, and you cannot run anything else together? Because that's effectively what we're pushing toward at this point, is it's like, why, because of all of these strict keywords on top of, like, on top of all of these things that aren't related but are, they never feel congruent. They never feel fluid. Like, when I'm sitting here in, like, Strand, for instance, I'm like, cool, Mindspun Invocation with Wanderer. Cool, I just turn my Tangles into an extra grenade that suspends things, and then whatever grenade I have gets boosted. That's great. Fantastic. I can do Weaver's Call, and nothing changes. I now just get a grenade out of my rift, and that's cool, and that'll also get buffed to make more threadlings. Awesome, fantastic. I can do this with Weave Walk. This is now eating my melee in order to, like, fly around and be somewhat intangible and make more threadlings. Very cool. I can do this. Now these two synergize together. I can do this just because, and they don't fight each other. And that's, I think, the main point I'm trying to get at here, is that everything about Solar Warlocks aspects fight each other. They keep trying to do something, and unless you have exactly this, you cannot, like, they just fight each other. And then if this with the new like little solar buddy, if you try and do like solar buddy with this, like solar buddy with Icarus Dash, you're now fighting each other, and they aren't flowing together like every other aspect in the video game at this point. And it just makes everything feel so bad on Solar Warlock. Like, obviously, the speedrunners are doing their super awesome tech with their super dashes and their eager edges, and they're going like super far, and they're flying across maps, and that's wonderful for them. We appreciate that. But literally everyone else in the video game just looks at Solar Warlock and goes like, damn, I feel so constricted with this. And before it was like, I feel constricted, but that's fine, I guess, because I have this immortality sword that I guess they needed to balance around. But with the removal of that immortality sword and making it more of a sustainability sword, now Solar Warlock is just left in this state where they're like, cool, I don't do anything, and I also don't have a game-winning super. I just have like a cool like radiant super that lets me throw a bunch of things. That looks like it's going to be fun. And I have a little solar buddy maybe. But if I'm sitting here like trying to do literally anything else, you have to equip this, and this. Or you have to equip this, solar buddy, and this. There is no in between. You can't mix and match anything. You can't like flow anything together. Everything about Solar Warlock is locked dead in stone, and there is no variety, and I don't understand why that isn't being helped in any way now that this is no longer a problem. It just feels incredibly bad, and I just want to like bring that up because I don't understand why it's not being talked about or not being expressed, because especially once this whole play style is nerfed, it's gonna feel like that much more potent on how just incredibly tight everything in Solar Warlock is, and how everything just isn't quite able to work. And there's just no fluidity, and it's one of the major reasons I think that a lot of people are like, myself included, just wanted this to get nerfed into the ground, because Solar Warlock feels so bad to play that it just really sucks having to be on it so often. But now they're nerfing the reason to be on it, but not helping the subclass in any way. So it just feels really bad. Now, armchair developer, you can say I technically went to half school college for this. I'm a programmer and such, but, still armchair because I'm not in the industry. But the one solution I have that I came up with is, I know we're incredibly terrified of things that are one fragment slot, like the literal only one in the game is Weave Walk right here. But I think I think it's time to finally go about the process of conglomerating all of this and going Icarus Dash plus Heat Rises, combine them together as they should be, or probably should have been from the start. Maybe reduce the melee regen, because like searing exists. Searing exists. And like maybe reduce the melee regen a little bit while you're airborne. But and then just while you're in the air, you can get cures by getting weapon kills, because like that's the other thing is like, why is the weapon kill cure on Icarus? I can't stay in the air with Icarus. I can stay in the air with Heat Rises. Why? But I just getting ahead of myself, but it's like, again, they just, unless you're you can run 2 combos with this subclass, and it just feels so bad. So again, just combine these 2 together, call it like Phoenix Mastery or something, and you get to, because like eating your grenade, like especially in this climate, in this video game, is such a tax on you, especially now with us, like with Sunbracers now also going to be nerfed a little bit to only be able to throw to only, quote unquote, be able to throw 4 grenades. That'll probably get cut to 2 if you try and do the combination here where you do this and you eat your grenade, and not like you eat your first charged grenade so that you can get the heat rises, and then you throw. You'll probably only be able to get like 2.5 of those grenades off instead of a full 3, which will just severely undercut this combination and make it even that much harder when you're trying to justify using heat rises with Icarus Dash, because now you're like, okay, cool, what grenade do I combo with this? Because, like, I guess you just throw on, like, Firebolt grenade just so that you can eat it as often as possible. But it creates this whole dynamic where you're basically picking one of the worst, really bad grenades in the video game, in a PvE sense at least, just so that you can fund the rest of your entire kit. And you're never throwing a grenade, which in this game climate, grenades are the most potent thing, and the Warlock has an upgrade to them. Like, the Solar Warlock has this beautiful thing right here that makes them incredible, but you can't, like, if you try and combo this with heat rises, as stated, you just lower your combat effectiveness drastically. You now are sitting here trying to float in the air, and you're just, unless you're doing like super high-end restoration ×2 shenanigans that are just and you're doing it on like normal tier gameplay and like just trying to get a flawless dungeon clear, you're still like you just end up still having issues because you don't have any in-air mobility, so you get bunched while you're floating and you just fall off a cliff, and it's like, great, wonderful, I love you, why can't I have Icarus with this? And then if you do want Icarus with this, your grenade is now worthless. It doesn't do anything at all, because I love the solar grenades, but like the only one that's even half worth a damn without the touch of flame upgrade is thermite grenade, and this one can only affect things on the floor, so it creates this problem where your entire build just keeps fighting itself over and over and over. And it would just be so nice if heat rises got combined with Icarus. It went down to 1 fragment slot to accommodate the drastic increase in potency, and then you just, you're golden. Like suddenly I am sitting here with this new, let's call this one, I'll call this one like the Phoenix Mastery, and now I can throw on Touch of Flame with Phoenix Mastery, and I feel really good about myself because I can go flying around in the air, throwing high potency, like call it fusion grenades, while eating them if I need to in order to keep myself going. And you can keep the dashes up and keep flowing around, and you feel like an actual like character in the video game again. And like you can combine like this new Phoenix Mastery with the new aspect with the Solar Buddy, and now that one, and then you just drop this for like a rift or something, or you could even say like Phoenix Dive is now your like Phoenix Dive will also proc the Solar Buddy, which would be really cool. Another thought I had, which might end up power creeping this whole Phoenix Mastery thing, which is why I'm only bringing it up now, is instead also baking Phoenix Dive into this Phoenix Mastery and having it so that while you're in the air, your Rift converts into Phoenix Dive, and if you use Phoenix Dive, it'll eat your Rift cooldown in order to do the secondary effect of Phoenix Dive. And now you're able to, but obviously if you're on the ground, you can just cast a Rift, and that would also let everything just flow together. You could pick Touch of Flame for the better grenade, or if you wanted to focus on just purely eating your grenade, you could put the solar buddy aspect here, or you could put Touch of Flame and the solar buddy together. Like, everything would just flow together at that point, and everything goes back to what every other build gets to have, where all of their aspects can just be put together in whatever way they want. I can do this and this if I want to for upgraded grenade and devour, or I can do this and this and put devour over and get like devour from starvation, and it's totally fine. Or I can do this, or I can do this and this, and now this buddy gives me devour whenever it eats something, and it's just so much, it just feels so much better than what the Solar Warlock is just heavily restricted to, because of all of these things that are separated when they really shouldn't be separated. And that's about it. That's all I wanted to exposit about for just 20 minutes to get it off my chest. I just really, when I got to that solar section in the TWAB and just saw Hunter and Titan there and didn't see anything about Warlock getting any form of like help in any way, I just was like, okay, cool. So I guess in the final shape, Solar Warlock is just dead. Sick. Awesome. I'm super happy that this playstyle is just gone from the video game, because it's like there is now literally no reason to play it outside of your highest of high end, strictly because of the mobility tool and nothing else. Otherwise, you're just sitting here. If you're anything below the toppest of top tier, you just are never gonna play this, because you're like, okay, cool. I guess I can get a little dash, but my upgraded grenade isn't really able to be funded too often by any of the things I can do. And like, I can snap and get a couple of grenades, which is really good, but I can't like do anything more with it. I can't be like my Solar Titan, which just gets to sit here and be like, okay, cool, I have in combat mobility with the power of strafe lift. I can go, I run forward, I throw a healing grenade at my foot, I then do a consecration melee into wiping the entire enemies. I get roaring flames, which lets me punch things and otherwise get more buffs for my consecration and my incredibly high damage burning maul. I have radiant and restoration ×1 for forever because of Empyrean, and it's just, you get this whole chain going together, and you just are able to feel incredibly potent with everything you do. And the Warlock just doesn't get to do that. The Warlock gets to snap, and if it kills something, which is more often than not going to happen by it igniting, then they get to throw a couple grenades and feel really good for a little bit. And then they get to wait until their super is charged and cast it. That's it. That is the Solar Warlock playstyle. That is what Solar Warlocks have done for forever. It's been the only thing that they've been able to do because of this incredibly potent little thing that's getting nerfed now. And once this gets nerfed, that playstyle isn't good enough anymore. Like, sure, I think you'll still see people running around with sun bracers a little bit, but the rest of the Warlock's playstyle is going to be fundamentally broken, and you will only ever see the Solar Super when it's on Prismatic. And I think this needs to be looked at. But yeah, no idea if this will hit the ears of anyone important. but I hope it does, or at the very least it gains traction somewhere. But otherwise, that's it from me. Thank you, and have a good one.